Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Money with Alpha. I'm very excited today because I have the lovely Sammy Barnett from Nutrition with Sammy with me. Hi, Sammy.
Hello.
Sammy and I met, I don't know how many years ago or exactly where, but it was through business things, and you have such an awesome energy, and I love what you do. I love your story. We'll delve into a little bit of that too, but you do things beautifully and you just radiate a happy life. So I
Oh,
want to
thank
thank you
you.
first for that.
Thank you.
And yeah, I know a little bit of your story and in relation to how you came into the nutrition world. And we are talking before we hit record about how there's a very sort of commonality in terms of how the relationship we have with money and our relationship with food and nutrition. Before we dive into that, though, I'd love to hear more about your journey as a person with how you came to what you're doing. And if you want to throw a few money anecdotes in there as well of your money journey, then go for that too.
Yeah, sure. So my journey actually started when I was a little girl. I had panic disorder. And if anyone listening has had a panic attack, which I'm sure many people these days probably have, I was having about 10 to 20 panic attacks a day when I was about 10, 11 years old. And it consumed me for many, many years, all the way up until adulthood. Back then, anxiety and panic disorder wasn't common in children like it is today, unfortunately. So my parents were going through a divorce at the time, so I was kind of on my own trying to figure myself out for a very long time. No one kind of had an idea of what it was. When I realized what it was, there were no answers. It was like, well, you've got anxiety and panic disorder. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I didn't take any medications or anything back then, but I started really researching about the human body because I thought, well, I'm not dying. I need to discover why my body's, not behaving the way it should be. And it was a very lonely journey. I was the weird kid at school, weird kid all through high school. And so I naturally had to build resilience in myself. And I found many pieces of the puzzle, but one of the pieces was nutrition.
Mm.
Because I realize we are so much more than just what we are.
Yeah.
And underneath all this flesh and all our, facade, we have chemical reactions happening 24/7 inside our body that we don't even know about it.
Mm.
And those reactions that are happening are made with nutrients from foods that we consume. And so for me, it took a long while through life to realize that I wasn't actually absorbing any of those nutrients. I was starting to eat what we would term real food from the ground. I stopped eating so much not so nutritious foods that were making me anxious,
Mm.
but I still wasn't actually absorbing them. And so, even though I opened up my nutrition clinic and I was seeing a lot of people, particularly women who were stressed out,
Yeah.
they weren't actually absorbing the nutrients that I was recommending because they were in a highly stressful state. Their
Mm.
nervous systems were in flight and fight, and their digestive systems were just not efficient. And they knew what to eat, but they couldn't control themselves in the nervous system sense. They couldn't stop themselves from doing. And this was me. I was actually attracting myself to my clinic. Yeah, I know, right?
Totally
So
relate to
many,
some of that.
so many of us. And I did some emotions coaching and NLP training because I felt like it was that nutrition was just surface. Even though the nutrients in the nutrition, like in the foods we needed, we
Mm.
weren't able to actually extract them and absorb them and use them properly in the body if our nervous system was just chaos. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I started delving deeper into that, and COVID hit,
Mm.
and I shut my clinic down. And I said to my hubby, something doesn't feel right. Like I still felt quite anxious, even though my business was successful. I had a podcast, I had all the things going. It wasn't in alignment with who I was as a person. And so I had a bit of a breakdown. I sat in it, realized that I wasn't working with my values.
Mhm.
And I used to be an entertainer. I was a people pleaser. I used to make everyone laugh, but then I realized I actually got a lot of joy out of that. So I turned my business from clinic space, with all my knowledge and all my resilience and all my studies. I mixed that with my entertaining side and got up on stages dressed up as Pikachu and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I had a lot of people telling me I was really good at turning complex nutrition and science into fun
Mm,
metaphors. So I started doing that, and
yeah.
yeah, and so I did it in schools and communities, and then the parents were like, "Can you do this in my office space?" I was like, "Sure." And so I'm wearing, my poo hat and and
I,
it just took off, and
yeah.
I just feel like there's so many things that have happened in my life. Like I had liver failure at one point. There's just so many parts to my story, which are all in my book that are coming out, but we can talk
Mm,
about that later.
yeah.
That have led me to here. And I think it's because I've actually created space and allowed energy to build up in different areas of my life so that I
Mm,
could really go for where I'm meant to be going. And the
yes.
universe and your body are constantly guiding you, I believe.
Yeah.
And so now I get to wake up every day feeling really excited about what I do rather than feeling this heaviness
Mm,
um,
yeah.
that's there. And what a better sign than Jamie Oliver coming second for the Jamie
Yes.
Oliver Award. So, I mean, if that's not a sign, I don't know what is. No one's doing what I'm doing, so I'm just kind of paving the path and
Yeah. Yeah.
laughing at myself along the way. So,
Yeah, well, there's so much seriousness in the world, and it's so lovely, and you connect so well. Like my daughter's been to some of your workshops through Lemonade Kids, and she comes back and she's like, "Mama, Sammy told me I have to eat raw mushrooms." I was like, "Okay," and she's like, "Because my taste buds change every 2 weeks, so I might like it now when I didn't like it 2 weeks ago." And so I was like,
I
"Wow!" So
love
it's really opened up the like the avenues for conversations with children as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Understanding.
I've got teenage boys now, but I think having kids and learning nutrition and t trying things out on them because I've been trying to get them to engage, and I found that getting down to well, not down, but at their sort of level,
Yeah.
and I'm really good at acting like a child, believe it or not. Ask my husband, so. And I feel like they can,
Fun.
relate to you a little bit more. So, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And then they feel a bit more empowered and in charge of their bodies. And this is where, like, I like to help people feel in charge of their money.
Hmm.
And you work on in charge of bodies, mind, nutrition. Like, there's so much that comes with all of that together.
Yeah.
And we're taught so many things to rely on others. Oh, we're the experts. You need to like listen to us. This is what we say. I was like, okay, but my body or my value system saying something else.
Yeah, I
Business,
want
there's so
kids.
many things that just kind of like come at us. That,
Exactly. And everybody has a different story, different environment, like different values, different morals. Really getting to know who you are as a person and not just like spiritually and emotionally, but physically, like I
yeah.
see so many people all copying each other when it comes to their body and food, and what works for
Mm.
one person doesn't work for the other. And I really want kids to connect with signs and symptoms in their body and those sensations when they're chewing food and the
Mm.
tastes and
Well,
yeah.
even some of the things that as grown-ups we take for granted, like, my daughter's like, oh, my tummy's sore. I'm like, okay, well, it could be a number of things, but
Mhm.
when did you eat last? Is
Yes.
it poo related? Like even just trying to figure out the difference between when you need to go to the toilet and when you're hungry. Like just
Yes.
reading those signs and I'm constantly like, listen to your body, but then
Mm.
trying to explain what that even means as well, because there's so
That.
many things that we just as grown-ups we take for granted because we're like, oh, we just know that. I'm like, well, no, but we had to
Yeah.
learn that at some point,
Well,
either in
that's
a good
true.
way or a not good way.
That's true, but I did have a clinic full of people who had no idea how to read their body. And
Yeah.
I think it comes from the fast-paced world we've created, and people are afraid to slow down because it means sitting in the uncomfortable. So they're constantly busy, and
Yes.
our kids are picking up on that, and they're
Mhm.
coming into the world in this state where they're like, okay, why are we rushing? Why do we have to be out the door? What's going on? And
Yeah.
so when they do have a headache or an upset tummy or something, we're kind of like, no, we don't have time for that. Let's just go, just take a Panadol and or a
Yeah.
Nurofen, whatever, and away we go. And it's like, your body's talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a bit like that. We're so that you go into the pharmacy and there are a gazillion creams for everything. There's a rash,
Yeah,
let's put a cream on it. And so something comes up somewhere else, oh, let's put a cream on that. And then you're like, no, no, it's actually your body probably reacting to something and you're just covering it up. And it's going to start getting
exactly.
worse and worse. So by the time you finally listen, it might be something really, really disastrous in your body. And you had all
Yeah.
these signs for
And
years.
end up in my clinic. But I find the
Yeah.
worst one that I'm noticing is particularly in young girls. I had a lot of parents bring their daughters in to me with like terrible menstrual cycles,
Mm.
really, really heavy, and
Yeah.
they would go to a GP and the GP would give them the pill or the Marina to balance their hormones. And
Yeah.
so they would be on this, and I would say to them, look, there's a reason why you go through the menstrual cycle. If it's like that, something's not right, and you need to figure out why your body's doing that. You're
Yeah.
just like covering it up. And so, 5 years later, being on the pill that long, all of a sudden they're anxious because it made me so anxious when I was on the pill. It made me, oh, panic,
Yeah.
awful. And all of a sudden you're depressed, and then you go on a tablet for depression, so you're on the pill and an
And yeah.
antidepressant, and then you hit 30s, and all of a sudden you come off all this stuff and you can't get pregnant. And it's like you've never paved the way. You've just been blocking those pathways for so long. Like
Yeah.
it's just a long-term effect when we just say,
Yeah.
nah, we're not listening, we've not got time. It flows on
Yeah.
so many things. Yeah.
I know. I think back to the way I was, taking the pill and everything, and then I'm like, I don't want my daughter to do that. I don't want her to put
Yeah.
those chemicals in her. But then there's still that whole, but I don't want her to get pregnant when she's not
Yeah.
ready either.
Uh-huh.
So
Exactly.
that
And when we
fun.
run our own businesses and we go, 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 sometimes it's easy. We take the easy route and we shouldn't feel guilty for that. But I think that society has led us to believe that creating space and slowing down is failing, and that's not the case.
Yeah, no, and it's so hard to get off that treadmill. Like I'm on it more than not, and I try really like even yesterday, I'm like, oh, I have all these things to do. I was like, I could do them like I could, I had planned them later in the week, but I have the time like right now, so I'm going to do them right now, and then I'll relax later in the week, which of course never happens because,
Yeah.
like I said this morning,
Yeah.
didn't have to do the school drop off, so instead I vacuumed and mopped and did the washing because
Tick, tick,
I
tick,
had the
tick.
time, and now that's
But
ticked off. I don't have to do.
we get a dopamine hit when we
Yeah,
do these things,
it's
right?
ticking it off. And of course, my daughter was home from school yesterday. That was a student-free day, and I gave her a list of things to do so that she didn't spend the whole day on the iPad. And this morning she said to me, she said, Mama, I don't want a checklist today. Like going,
Oh, my kids
oh my
hate
gosh.
that. When I do
Yeah.
that in the school holidays, I'm like, here's the list before any gaming. And they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
not the list.
But then I was like, oh, I'd love you to be able to sort of fluidly figure out your day. So now she's watching, she's still on the iPad, but it's this kids art show that shows them
Yeah.
how to draw.
Oh, I like
So
that.
she's at least doing that. And I was like, okay, that's a little bit better. But I thought,
I
oh,
know.
yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
perpetuating the cycle and I'm even aware of it. I should know
I
better.
know. But what, that's everyone. Most of us know what to do when it comes to nutrition and health, but we don't
Yeah.
do it because our nervous
So
systems are,
something you said
they're-
before. Yeah, something you said before, I wanted to dive into a little bit more because also personal interest. Bodies are like not accepting. Like, say you're eating really, really healthily and, limiting, conscious of all of the macros and all of that sort of stuff,
Mhm.
and your body's still just not quite right. What is it just cortisol and things like that that are stopping the nutrition or the nutrients from being absorbed? How does that actually work?
Okay, so when your body's in flight and fight, and so say you're at your desk right now and you've got your salad, you've got your green smoothie or whatever you might have that's
Yeah,
nutritious for you. And while you're sitting there eating it, you're working, but your nervous system's freaking out because you've got a deadline, or perhaps you got a confrontational email comes through from someone and you're like, oh my God, all of a sudden your body feels like it's at a threat because
yeah,
it's thinking this person doesn't like me, or if I don't reach this deadline, I'm going to look like an idiot and no one's going to like me. And so your body from caveman times is thinking, oh, something's not right. We don't know what it is because we haven't adapted enough to know what computer screens and emails are. We all think,
yeah,
there's a person staring at me right now in a screen. My body doesn't understand that properly.
yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're preparing to run away. Your
Mm,
all of the nutrients that are like, let's say, the stomach acid and the digestive enzymes and all that stuff that helps to, get the juices flowing in your digestive system. all
Yeah.
of the blood in that's there is running to your arms and your legs and the muscles because if you need to get away from a tiger, you don't have time to
Mhm.
digest your food. And so you're sitting there eating your lovely meal, but stressing about life.
Yeah.
So as maybe you're a fast eater too, you're making sure you're chewing your food as you swallow it and it goes into your stomach. If you haven't got enough stomach acid, it's just not going to break down properly. And
Right.
then by the time it hits your small intestine, you're going to have, and I know this word's gross, you're going to have big chunks of the food that are still together because
Yeah.
your stomach acid's so poor. And some people get that acid reflux, they get the belching,
Yeah.
maybe they get indigestion, which can feel like a bit of a heart attack sometimes.
Yeah.
And by the time it gets into your small intestine, sometimes the bad bacteria or even good bacteria start to climb up into
Hmm.
your small intestine and breed there. So you get like bloating and uncomfortableness.
Hmm.
And then as it reaches your large intestine, depending on what you're eating, like it can
Yeah.
just cause a lot of gas
Yeah.
because humans don't make gas, bacteria do. And
Right.
so if you're really gassy, depending on whether they're good or bad bacteria. But so that happens. So if you're eating protein, for example,
Yeah.
the amino acids that create that protein, your body's job is to break them up.
Yeah.
Oh, that was weird. My
Yeah.
microphone. And then those amino acids go into your body and they're part of the building blocks for creating neurotransmitters. So things that
Mhm.
make you feel amazing, right?
Yeah.
And if your stomach acid's really terrible, it's actually not going to be able to break them down properly. You're missing
Mm.
certain key things. So, and
Yeah.
even the bacteria make neurotransmitters. If you don't have the right bacteria, you're not creating these wonderful things that give us motivation and energy and all the
Yeah.
things. And cortisol definitely plays a role in that too, because when you're
Yeah.
stressed, your
Yeah.
cortisol, your body gets this cortisol burst,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden your liver and your muscles release glucose into your body. So you don't
Mm.
even have to be eating sugar. Your body's getting a hit of sugar
Yeah.
because you need that to run away, right?
Yeah.
And so as you're getting that sugar hit, all of a sudden it's too much sugar in your blood, you could die.
Yeah.
Insulin comes out and goes, "Oh, we'll save you." And so you're constantly injecting that insulin into your body. And then 3:30 in the afternoon, you've just been sitting at your desk eating healthy all day, and all of a sudden you've got a craving for a chocolate bar because your body's like, "Well, we've run out of our glucose stores. We need a quick hit of energy
Yeah.
because of the tiger."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it goes around in circles.
The
And what I
tiger, which
often
is the
say,
deadline.
exactly, we've got these constant stresses. Even if you have a never-ending to-do list, I've got to take the kids here, need to be home by this time. I've got to get
Hmm.
dinner on. I'm not going to have time to get dinner on. We'll just have to get McDonald's. Oh my God, I'm the worst mother in the world. They're having McDonald's again. Like it's just a never-ending guilt and it's just not great.
No.
But if a tiger is chasing you, metaphorically,
Yeah.
if you stop and take a big, deep breath,
Yeah.
what would happen?
You
The
start.
tiger. Exactly, because if you did have a real tiger, it would have eaten you, and you've just told your body that there is no tiger chasing you. And
Yeah.
so I think that's what we're missing, the space to breathe and
Yeah.
take a breath before we eat and be
Yeah.
present
And
with
do
our
one
food.
thing at a time.
Exactly. One thing at a time.
Yeah, which is why what we do, we're very like routined about family dinner. We sit
Yeah.
there, we eat together, we talk about our day,
Oh,
we
I love
just
that.
laugh. Like that's something that, yeah, and I love it too because it's connection time that we like don't necessarily have. Like in the morning, it's get that okay out the door, and then we get home. It's like okay, you can have that, and then we're off to this activity. And
Yes. It's
yeah,
missing a lot. And I think I read a study somewhere that most families don't actually eat at the dinner table anymore. They
mm,
want to, but then there's no time because they're constantly running around to sports or,
yeah.
just people work from home and they're working at night. And it's sad, but I think we don't need to live in the system.
No,
It's
and this is the thing. So I love like the knowledge that you bring. gives you so much more. Like it actually, I'm like, I can picture everything you just said as going, okay, when
It's
I'm
me.
eating, I need to make sure. Anyway, there's a slow food movement, which I'll come to in a sec. But there's all of that, and then there's the stresses that go with the money side of things too, and there's
Yeah.
that pressure, and then that adds up, and then it compounds with the food thing, and then the weight thing, and then we feel bad about that, and it just sort of goes round and round circles, and it's just we're so hard on ourselves for trying to do so many things, and that's where money gives us choice. So if we can get the money side to calm and comfortable, then we
Mhm.
can be a bit more relaxed and go, you know what? I don't have to work until midnight. I can actually stop, have a nice break for dinner, and then I can turn off the computer. And like, I don't work on the weekends now. I've just like,
Yeah.
nope. Occasionally,
Good.
I might have to like do little bits here and there,
Yeah.
but most of the part, I don't. Like my laptop closes on a Friday afternoon and it doesn't get opened up again until Monday morning.
That's really good.
So,
As business owners, it's really hard to do that.
and
People,
yeah, and it is sometimes nope, I will sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'll have an idea. No, I'll write a note and I can do that on Monday. It does not have to get done right now.
oh, I love that. That's so good. I do that too. I see emails come through. I'm like, no, no, no.
Right
Like,
now. No. Because
I've,
it
I've
sets the
got to break.
expectation then that you respond instantly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think that's the best thing I ever did for my business. I treated this business different to my previous business. I burned out with my other business,
Yeah.
and money kind of went all over the place. And I think now I mean, I've got a construction business that I run too. And so for me, it's been being present and very mindful about where I spend my energy and my
Yeah.
time. I budget my energy and my time. And because I've been budgeting my energy and my time, cash, like money, is coming in better.
Mm.
And so for me, I've allowed myself to delegate. I would never allow myself, if I could do it myself, I wouldn't pay someone to do it because I was so scared. I grew up with scarcity around money, right?
Yeah.
And holding on to every little cent I could. And so
Yeah.
I invested in a house cleaner, which I was lucky enough to do. And it's given me that space to create and build sort of funnels and channels where I can get more money in. I've learned that money's not evil. I,
Yeah.
I used to believe money was evil. I really, truly did. And
Yeah.
I think when you have a passion and a vision in as a business owner, um, working out how you can do that, a lot of the time you need money, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think it's important to delegate where you can so you can focus on building and growing and bringing money in to delegate other things so that
Yeah.
you can
And then
focus.
you're giving someone else employment at the same time.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
it's, yeah.
Social media man. I need to employ a social media manager because
Yeah.
the things that I don't love,
Yeah.
why are we doing them when we can
Yeah.
be paying someone to do them and then growing our
Yeah.
businesses? Yeah.
And
Mm.
when we were talking before we hit record about the energy flow, I mean, money, we're always so focused on limiting what goes out and increasing what comes in. You know, oh, we need to make more and then we need to spend less. I was like, well, money does flow, and the more it flows in, and it can then flow out. But that flow out, as long as it's intentional and it's aligned with your values, the money will
Yeah,
flow in a lot easier. And then when it flows out, it will flow out in the right ways. And like you said, it
absolutely.
provides employment. It like it gives you the choice. Like for instance, I'm very focused on making sure I buy local, try and support small business. I can pay a little bit more for things because I have that choice as a result
Yep.
of the money that's coming in. So then more comes in because the money somehow knows that it's going to go into the right
Yeah.
places. And when somebody puts a call out for donations, I was like, sure, I can donate to that.
It's so true. I went to a charity ball the other night and it's just, I think when you do donate, for example, or you do give someone a job and it makes you feel so good inside,
Yeah,
knowing that you can gift this to another person,
yeah,
that I think having those feeling and sensations in your body, it's like, have you read The Secret? It's like where you
yeah,
attract that energy.
yeah,
And so I find like with this business, I've been doing a lot more networking and socializing, whereas my previous business, I was sort of in my clinic all the time. I wasn't out, and now I'm out and about,
mm,
pushing that energy out into the world, and it's coming back at me tenfold, and it's so great. And I definitely believe it's the same with money.
yeah,
When you invest and you do what's aligned with you,
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I loved when you said values because that's one of the things that I do up front with a lot of my clients is we do values work. So it's like until you know who you are, it's very difficult to plan your money. So it's a little
Yes.
bit like you don't, what body type are you? What sort of food should you be eating? What
Yeah.
times of day? Like
Eating
you
everyone
kind of
else's
need,
diet.
yeah, you need to know yourself first, and then the money becomes the tool, and then like food becomes sort of the fuel in a way. So
Yeah.
it's that understanding ourselves first. And I think we are constantly looking for answers and information. And to a certain extent, yes, because we don't get taught about money, we don't get taught about food. So
Yes,
we need
I
to
know,
understand
right?
how it
And they're the
works.
two key things that we need,
Yes, I
right?
know. And we learn all sorts
Um,
of other, I mean, great things in school, but I learned stuff in calculus I've never used and statistics, which, I use statistics, but it's not the stuff I learned at school. So it's like,
yes,
okay,
yeah.
well,
Uh-huh.
let's
I'm
have
here, yeah.
nutrition coming through the schools, and rather than just always going for the medication, let's look at how can food be our medicine as well, because it used
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah, it used
So
to be, and now
yeah,
it's so much these days. I
yeah.
love that. Yeah.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you as well, because the age bracket that I'm in, and I'm not, I think we're probably similar age brackets, but I get a lot of things on social media about perimenopause, menopause, all this, unwanted weight gain or, stresses on joints or whatever. I'm reading all this just going, and someone's like, do fasting. Someone else don't do fasting. Someone else is like, lift weight. Someone else is like, no, do cardio. Someone carnivore diet. And they're just going, holy moly.
Oh, yeah,
There's so
it's the
many
noise
things.
of the wellness world. The noise.
Yes.
Essentially, what's happening is our bodies, basically, your ovaries are starting to go, you know what? Don't really want to produce all these hormones anymore. We're going to let the adrenal glands do that. And
Mm.
so, as it does that, it's because it's not a smooth sort of sailing for us anymore because we've got all these chemicals in the environment.
Yeah.
We're constantly exposed to stressful things. And I don't mean psychological stress, I mean just so many
Oh,
stresses
yeah.
in the world. Like, I mean, who knows what Wi-Fi is doing to me right now, let's be honest.
Yeah.
All right. But your liver is going into overdrive because what actually happens is if you've got too much estrogen in your body, it recycles it back into your body if we're drinking alcohol or we're using a lot of perfumes and plastics. And
Mm.
that sort of stuff is really toxic to our body. So your liver prioritizes getting rid of that first. And so as it's trying to remove that excess estrogen that, because, we go like this with our perimenopause, it's just being recycled back into the body and
Mm.
it's storing when we have these toxins floating around in our body, your body needs to protect you. So where does it store excess toxins? In fat cells,
Mhm.
unfortunately. So it's not just excess food,
Yeah.
it's actually toxins. So your body actually does it because it loves you.
Mm.
I find anything you can do to support your liver when you're going through these stages is
Yeah.
really important. Even like high cortisol is very stressful on your body and your liver. So
Mm.
I often say to women, when you carry body fat around your midsection, that's cortisol.
Yeah.
It's protecting your organs because it thinks something's not okay. So all of your organs and everything that needs to be safe is at the
Yeah.
front, right?
Yeah.
When you've got excess on your back, so you get that back fat,
Yeah.
that's your liver.
Yeah.
And your legs and your butt are your hormones, so they're all out of whack. So you can often sort of tell what's going on there.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think women in their 40s and 50s are meant to be working so hard
Mm.
because it's only been the last 50 years
Yeah.
that we've been working so hard. And I'm not to say, that we can't have it all, because sure we can. But at what detriment are we
Yeah.
doing that?
You just slow it down. If that stuff
Yeah.
takes a little bit longer, that's all right. We're living longer.
And I feel like, I don't know if AI is a curse or a blessing, but I feel like it's making things even faster now. That
Mm.
if you're not on the AI train, you're competing with companies that are. And so we're pushing
Yeah.
ourselves even harder,
Yes.
unfortunately. And we've created quite a conundrum for ourselves, haven't we?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, well, it's always interesting because we're heading overseas in a week's time for a month, and I remember the last time we went over there, I think I came back like 3 kilos lighter, which is because I was
Oh,
eating whatever I wanted, but I was just
that's
chilled.
it. That is so true. Most of my clients were like that.
Yeah, and I was like, I always lose weight on holidays because I just relax.
Yes,
I
and
was
that's
like, I should
exactly
go
it.
on holidays more often. That's not quite the answer, but it's I need to try
Get
and
the
bring
things
that
state of
energy back
mind.
with me.
Yes.
Good.
What do they say? Rephrase things every
Yeah,
day.
reframe it. Yeah.
Find magic in the mundane and rephrase
Yeah, yeah,
what's
that's it. Love it.
going on here. You build your own little oasis in your house.
Yes, yes, no, I yeah, need to, and there's that whole boundaries thing, but anyway, we all need to work on those
Yes.
to a certain extent. What I'm also really excited about that's coming up is you're turning the learnings that you've had in your life into a book, which is tremendous. So
It's
I'd love
very
to hear more about the journey to, well, what made you decide to write a book? And then once you decided what were you going to write about and the journey that you found and how you feel transitioning to adding writer to your suite of skills.
Yeah. Well, I've always kind of, not always, but I think probably in the last 15 years, I've had an inkling to write a book because I've always had people say, "Oh, you're really interesting to listen to. Like, I really enjoy the things that you're teaching me. You should put it in a book." And I'm like, oh, it was very scary, the thought of writing a book. I thought, I'm never ever going to be able to do that. Where am I going to find the time to write a book, right? Who's got
Yeah.
time for that? And so I found a beautiful publishing company. They're a hybrid publishing company, so I get to keep my actual book.
Yeah.
And they took me through a journey that made it all that easier. And
Mm.
I've definitely made it Sammy style. So if you know me, I'm all about the fun.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a mix between a self-help book, my own journey,
Mhm.
and a comedy.
Oh, I love it.
So it's got a lot of images in it. I've used a lot of metaphors, pop culture, and I've touched on basically from birth, even before birth, like intergenerational trauma, all the way up
Yeah.
to now, and how I've turned anxiety into a compass, so to
Hmm.
speak.
Yeah.
I feel like I was born with this way. As a gift, and I've turned it into a superpower, and I'm trying to educate people on reading and listening to it and decoding it because most of the anxiety and panic books that I read were all about, you know, suffering with anxiety or how to
Mm.
manage it. And then, like, what if you could harness it, become
Yeah.
friends with it, and
Yes.
use it? Because that's what I've done in life. I basically share from when I was born as an anxious child. My mum struggled to have me, so she had a threatened miscarriage the whole time she was pregnant with me,
Hmm.
and basically thought I was gone. When I was born, there was a big hole in the placenta. I was lucky to be alive. Um, and I really struggled throughout primary school. I was really shy and scared. So I talked about my pain and struggles. And then when I had my panic attack, it goes in depth of
Hmm.
just how, like, I think a lot of parents and even young girls will resonate with this.
Mm.
Um, I get a lot of young girls come up to me at workshops, sharing their own story with panic disorder, which is it's very sad, but also like I feel like they're being seen because someone
Yeah.
else has had that.
You've had the
Um,
courage to talk
and
about it, and now they can share
yeah,
it
and
too.
in depth. But I then talk about through my book, I go into struggles as a teenager
Mm.
and the obsession with needing to fit in to feel safe.
Mm.
So I go in depth with that.
Yeah.
And then all the way up to even having babies, struggling with mum guilt massively. I even share my journey with of getting obsessed with exercise and food, my journey with orthorexia. I was obsessed with
Mm.
healthy eating. So I
Yeah.
go into that. Like there's just so many layers of this book.
Yeah.
But eventually goes into building businesses with panic.
Yeah.
And being seen, and throughout all that, there's a lot of images like and funny questionnaires and
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be amazing. I can't wait to release it.
I've already pre-ordered my copy, so I'm
Oh,
very excitedly
yay!
waiting for it.
My husband just finished reading it and he said he was cracking up laughing, but he was also feels like he's seen me because
Yeah.
it's very, very raw.
Yeah.
So it's always nerve-wracking because you don't know how it's going to be seen. But I thought if I'm going to write a book, I'm going to put it all out there and
Yeah.
be vulnerable because most people say to me, I feel seen. Like if when I get up on stage and do a speaking gig,
Yeah.
I get a lot of people waiting after I get off the stage to come and chat to me about I've never had anyone see me the way that you've seen me right now.
Oh,
And I'm like, I
beautiful.
was you.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
so wonderful to be able, because I think a lot of people feel shame, and I see this a lot in the money
Yeah.
space. There's a whole lot of shame, and we block this off, and we feel shame in so many
Yeah.
different facets of life. So to have that beautiful nature and courage that you have to share that, it gives other people permission to like loosen those shackles of shame and go,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm not the only one. This isn't just me. There's something else going on there, and someone else has experienced it too. So
Yeah.
let's learn and
We need
grow,
more of that. And I find
heal, and yeah,
there's not enough of that. I'm
yeah.
very brutally honest with myself and in public. Like I fail a lot, but I think that's where the lessons come from. And I think people need to be open about stuff and
Mm.
stop lying to society about
Oh,
doing it all
the
when like
filters. I've seen so many filters on social media. I was like, are you kidding me? Like I'm not even going to be dyeing my hair because I can't be bothered sitting in a chair in a hairdresser. Like talk about ADHD. I was like I choose my hairdresser based on how quickly she can cut my hair. Because sitting in a chair for like 3 hours is like my, ugh, no. I would prefer to be
yes.
sitting outside reading a book.
Face. Bring your book to your hairdresser's
Yeah,
space.
well then she
I've
likes
been
to
going grey
chat.
for a while now. Since I was 18, I started going grey.
Oh, well, see, I'm hoping I have my dad's genes. He didn't start going grey till he was in his 60s, but I've already started, so it's not
Embrace
really,
the grays.
yeah,
Give
it's
them
all right.
time.
It's the
Yeah.
new whatever, grey's the new green. I think it was that some
Yeah.
I heard that somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's it's really, really beautiful too. Because yeah, when I was reading a little bit of your backstory on your website, and I have a family member who had, and I think might still have remnants of the orthorexia, and it's not something that I ever knew of before.
Yeah, it's
And
becoming quite common in young boys. Mm.
yeah. So it's really important, I think, that we talk about. It's not just about anorexia or bulimia. Like they're the only two options. It's like there's different varietals of so many things, and the
Mm.
stories that we have growing up. And I think there's also that empowering piece of a lot of our traumas and things are either generational or they've come from our childhood. But
Mhm.
rather than sitting in those and kind of being the victim, it's going, you know what? It happened. I am who I am as a result of it. And turning that around, like you said, like turning the anxiety into a
Yeah,
superpower to actually help go, all right, I'm going to use the energy because there's a lot of energy that goes with this. And,
absolutely.
I see a lot of fear around money. I was like, well, use that fear. That energy is energy
Mm.
and harness it for good and then turn it around and see failure in a different way too, because it's the best teacher.
Ah, I love that. I actually mention in my book, I say, I talk about having to sit with things and realigning because I got rid of a successful business to start something more aligned with me. And I realized I had to delegate stuff. And that was when this deep-seated money
Yeah, it's
relationship, and I
right.
wrote, that's for another book because I couldn't go deep into it. But I
Yeah,
totally agree with you.
yeah,
Money, trauma is definitely a thing. And it's just simple things like money doesn't grow on trees, like the things that we constantly say.
yeah.
And we don't realize how much we're blocking money from coming in. I totally know where you come from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that turning it around because we're like, oh, we have to manage it or we've got to and that's the other thing too. You're like, oh, I've dealt with my money issues and they're gone. And I was like, nobody really ever just like completely has dealt with anything. There's always
Yeah.
going to be remnants. We're always going to have
Yeah.
triggers,
Well, that
especially if it's
exactly.
from childhood and we are in a family environment. Like things always come back. This is why people fall off the wagon around Christmas time, whether
Hmm.
it's to do with spending on presents or it's the food that they have at events because they're
Yeah.
around the people that they were around when they formed those stories and those beliefs. And
Yeah.
so they just kind of like regress back into that role without necessarily being aware of it.
True. Like I think of a lot of the money that I wasted when I was younger, and a lot of it was to do with people pleasing and getting people to like me. And so you would go out of your way to buy the best gift you could for them, and then
Yeah.
you give it to them, and they'd go, thanks. And then you'd be like, is that
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Is
You're like, you know how
that it?
much I put into this?
I waste so much energy and time. And then you have to sit with that and go, well, for what purpose am I doing this with this person? Like,
Yeah.
why do I need them to like me? So
Yeah.
it definitely intertwines and
Yes. Yeah. So,
yeah.
and it's, yeah, even with the food, like I grew up European family, you over cater. If anybody, if there's food, if there's no food left over, then people must be hungry. Like there's so many things around all of that, and you're like, okay.
Love
And
that.
even now, I over cater. I'm like, I tried to do half the recipe, and it still turned out like quite a lot of food.
My boys would love that. I'm always over catering here, and it's never enough. My
No,
children
yeah,
eat a lot of food.
yeah,
Boys, house full of boys.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what's you kind of alluded to another book. Do you think you'll write another book after this one?
Absolutely. I've even like I find since I've written my journey, is that right? That I can't even written my journey.
Right.
I feel like now my business, like I've helped my hubby build our family business, but now I'm building my baby and
Mm,
it's still, I mean, my business is only a couple years old. It's still in sort of the growth stages, and I'm finding there's so much to learn about myself when it comes to building a
hmm.
business. Like even like when it comes to friendships, like changing, you find you're changing, constantly evolving and changing.
Yeah,
And I feel like there's just so much more in me, but more on the business side. So, I do a lot of talks on your body as your business partner.
yeah,
And I feel like there's definitely a fun little book in me that will delve further into that side of things because it
yeah,
can be extremely lonely and a lot of things can come up emotionally when
mm,
you're creating a website, for example, or just
yeah.
there's just so much, or even just going out and networking and getting to know that there are a lot of people who look at you as a transaction, and
Mm,
that's okay, but you need
yeah,
to read the room.
yeah,
Yeah.
and find the other people.
Yeah, find your flow,
Gravitate to
find your tribe.
yes.
And I find because I've got a beautiful friendship group, there are a lot of mums that have kids. Our
Hmm.
kids have grown up now, and it's kind of like I'm in this space between
Yeah.
the mums and the business, and it's a confusing space because
Yeah,
yeah,
because your world, because your business is
busy
like your
time.
baby, like you said, your world's kind of consumed by it. So if somebody doesn't understand that,
Yeah.
you end up running out of things to talk about because you're just like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So yeah, there's just I feel like there's more in me in that side of things, and
yeah.
yeah,
So how
definitely.
to apart? So first of all, when does your book officially coming out?
Well, the publisher said that it should be here 30th of June, but I'm just waiting on the layout to come back, and then I have to proofread it again, and
Okay.
then it goes to print.
Yes. So this episode will come out, I think, probably a week before, so people can pre-order.
Yeah, they can. They
Yeah.
can. The pre-ordered books will have a Sharpie signing by me.
Ooh.
But the other ones that you get on Amazon and that, obviously, I don't have any interaction with
Yeah.
it, so
Yeah.
you won't get a.
So we'll put the link in the show notes. So you please go and pre-order or order, depending on when you're listening to this,
Yes.
Sammy's book. How else do people work with you? So that you're a
Yeah.
speaker,
I
trainer,
can.
presenter. Do you still do one-on-one work?
Not at this stage. I don't. It's just I've got too many hats on at
Yeah.
the moment and I'm creating space for myself. But I'm
Yeah.
just about to redo and relaunch my website. We're getting online interactive things on there. So I hate the word program, but you know what I mean, where you can
Yes.
actually do some interactive things with me, whether
Yeah.
you're an adult or a
Yeah.
child, because let's be honest, adults are just big kids at heart,
Mm.
right? So
Yeah. Well,
it's
I mean, we don't learn about nutrition, and so we're teaching our kids stuff that may or may not be the right things to.
yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
like for instance, my husband is anti afternoon snacks, and I was like, I thought afternoon snacks were okay, like depending on what the snack is, because there's a big gap between lunch and dinner. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
maybe that's not a good thing. I don't know.
I mean, some people can go all day with two meals and some need six. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's good. People can well, we're excited when you start to have that available.
Yes.
We'll share that too. So
Yay. So it should
yeah,
be a lot of fun. But yeah, no, I'm in schools, after school cares, vacation cares. A lot of councils and community hire me out. So
yeah,
I'm in shopping centers. So if you follow me,
yeah,
some of them are free. And then obviously the private ones in schools, you can't attend unless your kid goes there.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot
yeah.
happening. And then speaking as well. I do a variety of speaking things. I can give you
Yeah.
my speaker kit. So people, if they,
Yes, yeah, I was having a look and like, yeah, there's so many different areas. And then the collaborations, which I thought was really cool too. So I've seen you've teamed up with Jan,
yeah, she's a
the
lot of fun.
chef, and yeah,
Yeah.
good, good.
Cool.
But
Amazing. Oh, I
yeah.
think my husband just come home. My dog's going crazy in the background.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time. Such a wealth of information. And for those who are listening, if you want to watch it on YouTube, you can see Sammy's beautiful energy as well. But please check out her book because I'm very excited to read it. As you know, when it comes out, that's going to be top of my pile of books to read.
It's an easy read.
Yeah, yeah.
My
Well,
mum doesn't
that's
read, and she's like, it was an easy read. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that sounds wonderful. So thank you very much again. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you at our next networking event.
Yay. Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone, and have a wonderful week. And I will catch you in a week's time.